Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome. Welcome to the stream, guys. Sorry I'm a little bit late. I guess I wasn't late. I started it on time, but it took 9 minutes to get here. I was processing orders, so thank you guys for sending in some topics, and that's really appreciated. We do need more, but the two that I just did were very lengthy to read, so that's why it took me a long time. But yeah, oh, Joe grew hair. Yeah, that's right. If you have any topics, we'd be really pleased to have them. But anyhow, welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday, the show where we talk about the issues and the problems that are going on in your lives, hopefully to help maybe remedy them a bit, maybe help you on your journey through them. A lot of times we know what to do to solve our problems, but it does help a lot to just have a little bit of encouragement or extra perspective on the topic, help remove some of that fear and make us more knowledgeable about what we're diving into. I think it goes a long way. We aren't professional psychologists, psychiatrists, or anything along those lines, but we can give you our best from our own lives. We've all lived lives, and so with that, you guys are absolutely free to also share your lives here in the chat. This is a very loving stream. Everybody here is awesome. You guys are all awesome and super kind and joyful, peaceful, loving, and supporting and helpful. And so feel free to do your best to aid those who have topics today. And also just be yourself and enjoy yourself. So yeah, that's Don't Worry Wednesday. That's the starting. And go to don'tworrywednesday.com if you want to submit a topic, just like Katz just put down in the chat for us. Thank you so much, Katz. You're awesome. Traded some hair to Joe. Yeah, basically what I did is I just took off my beard and I stuck it on Joe, and it turned into a Haley.
Yeah, that's how a Haley is made.
Yeah. Oh gosh, no, that's not true. That is not how Haley was made. But
No, I said a Haley, not this
a
Haley.
Oh, a Haley.
Yeah.
Yes, that is one form of Haley. That's a good distinction. Good distinction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you doing? How you doing, Haley?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Ryan?
Wonderful, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sipping a tea that will hopefully calm my allergies. My allergies have been going crazy lately, so if I sneeze 48 times during the stream or more, wow, you've been warmed.
I'd be impressed if you managed to sneeze 48 times during the sneeze.
Wow, jeez. The last couple of days have been crazy, so maybe I'll surprise you. One sneeze is 48 sneezes worth. Could happen. Why do you look so small this time? He seems so much smaller than usual. Yeah, that's probably because I shaved my beard. I guess the beard adds a foot to his height. Yeah, well, it makes my face like this much longer, right? I have a bigger face if I have a beard. Oh, that's funny. Uh-huh. Yeah, are there multiple Haleys? Yeah, there must be. But are there multiple Joes? I'm not sure.
Well, I have some Joes at my college.
Okay, well, there you go. We literally have two Joes in BSS, so yes. We're aware of the many Joes that there. I think Joe is even more common than Haley. Yeah, I think that would make sense though. There would have to be more Joes than Haleys in order to make a Haley out of a Joe. At least to start with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There could be more in the end, Haley's, but Ryan and Haley, I want to tell you I got a new job. Whoa, as a barista? Yeah, at a local coffee shop, and I'm super excited. That's so awesome. Congratulations.
That's great. I'm happy for you.
Yeah. You're gonna have to teach me how to make some cool coffees sometime. That'll be awesome. Yeah. There's only one Joe. The rest are fake and are lying. Okay, fair enough. I'll allow that to be. I'll have to ask what Joe Bohan, who is also in Black Second Swear, I'll have to ask him what he thinks of that. And if he'll probably just agree. He'll probably be like, yeah, that's true. I'll ask him to explain it, but he'll just laugh it off, and then I'll never get my explanation. They're like that. Mm-hmm.
I could see that.
Yeah. Oh, how else would there be a double cup of Joe? Well, one cup is a fake cup, and it's like, ooh, which, you know.
It's like the marketing scheme where they try to like sell you something that's supposed to be bigger, but it's actually like the same size, and they
Yeah.
just pretend like it's bigger.
Mm-mm. Yeah, that's right. Cup edition. I think, you know, funny thing is, Joe loves coffee, but the other Joe, doesn't like it at all, doesn't drink it. But they still went with a double cup of Joe. Anyways, so, I mean, kind of points to who the fake is, I guess. Not that is. How do you tell if a person's real or not? I don't know. Do they drink coffee? No. Well, they're fake.
I guess I'm fake then.
Yeah. Well, most Mormons are. Yeah. I say most
Yeah.
because I don't know.
You know, there are some out there, but
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All those Mormon people.
I guess we're just not real. We're all
Mhm.
like a figment of imagination.
Yeah. Well, I guess I shouldn't say Mormon. That's not correct. But it's
Yeah, we go by church of, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
there you go.
but-
Latter-day Saints. Yes. Latter-day Saints.
Mhm.
Yep. Mormons don't exist. That's true because we just covered that. Mormons don't
Yeah.
exist because they don't drink coffee. But Latter-day Saints, they're real. But they don't drink coffee. So, and yeah, welcome to No More Wednesday. So, what do you say we dive into a topic?
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
Great.
I'm sure the chat is ready for it too.
Yeah, guys, are you ready for a topic? Also, how are you guys doing in the chat? I didn't ask that to you guys. I should have. It's obligatory. Oh, I didn't know that was a show. Yeah. Looks like Vin Diesel isn't here. Oh, yeah. We need more.
One of the other Joes has showed up.
Oh, look at that. Whoa, see? We were just talking about you, Fake Joe. Well, we call you Fake Joe because you don't drink coffee. Are you a real Joe or are you a fake Joe? Because we've been discussing this issue for the last 5 minutes here on this show about if all the other Joes are fake Joes other than Joe Anderson. And I assumed that you would agree, and you're just like, yeah, that's true. But we'll see. If you've got an explanation for yourself and how you're not fake, you're invited to share.
It's not an interrogation though.
No, but it is a threat. So we're gonna of some sort. I'm just a backup Joe. Okay, cool. Thanks, man. Thanks for having our backs. Honestly, you're doing awesome over there. You're always really great. He's Joe A and you're both Joe B.
Right.
That's correct. Yeah. I was trying to the other day. Speaking of Joe B, I was trying to remember the name of this music artist, and I kept on going. John Bovey. That's not it. John Bovey. John Bovey. What's wrong? That's not it. John Bovey. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Bon Jovi. What? Who has? Why? Why? Just be John Bovey. That makes more sense. I don't know why, but that JB just reminded me of John Bovey instead of Bon Jovi. Yeah, John Doe, aka Joe. Yeah, that's right.
Great glass for Joe.
Yeah. All right, well, let's do a topic. I've got well, actually there are two people. Okay, hold on. All four of our topics say they want to be here today, and the only one that's here is Kishin Slayer. So, Kishin, if it's all right, we're gonna do your topic. I'm gonna go ahead and share this topic with you in our Discord so that you can read it. 242 characters over. I told you they were really long. All right, here. And then this is continued here. There you go. Great. Now I can go ahead and start putting this topic on the screen for you guys. Now, this topic... Oh, wait. I gotta fix that a little bit. How did that get misaligned? You, mister. I tried to be so good. I tried to be so good and set everything up before the stream started. And this is what you do to me? How dare.
You talk to the stream like I talk to some of the things in my research lab.
I think that's wise. If you don't talk to the things in your... I mean, you got to communicate. Right? Communication is key. That's what they say.
Yep. I gotta teach those cells who's boss.
Right? Because if you didn't, well, there'd be trouble. Big trouble. Okay, I must have resized this window or something at some point. I'm just gonna go ahead and fix that. Almost done, guys. Sorry about the wait here. We're like almost there. Almost. Boom. Okay, I'm gonna call that good enough. Won't spend any more time on it. I'm gonna lock that in place, and I'm gonna go ahead and share this topic on stream with you guys. You guys are free to read along. If you don't want to read along, that's okay. But that's stupid because this topic's really long. It's not actually that bad. But you're gonna forget every word if you don't read along. So I'm just recommending you just check it out with your eyeballs and take a look. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. And this one is from Kitchen Slayer. It is titled "Fear of the Unknown and Assessing Risks." That's actually what Kitchen Slayer titled it themselves, and so thank you for doing that because that made it easier. Fear of the unknown and assessing risks. The topic is here, and it reads as follows. I'm a huge believer that travel is the best way to learn. I've always been big into cultures, and about 6 years ago, I went to Mexico on a mission trip with a local church youth group, which was the first, and currently only, time I've left the country. It was the single most influential decision I've ever made. Working my first jobs to get the money actually gave me a work ethic. Y'all had just started DWW as a podcast. I listened to several pre-recorded episodes while working, and it was super helpful when I was a kid. Finding myself in a place where nobody had any preconceptions of who I was for the first time was the deciding factor in me opening up and developing my own personality. Now, I'm an adult going into his senior year of college, and for the second time, I'm actually leaving the country, flying to Mexico and Brazil to visit friends over the summer. I'm meeting both IRL and online friends throughout the trip. But honestly, now that I'm older, I'm unfortunately way more cautious. I'm doing this because I firmly believe this is the best way to grow as a person. But, well, excuse the French, but after actually buying the tickets, I'm pretty much pooping myself. LOL. The problem, by the way, I changed that word. You can't say the other word, man. I fixed it for you. This one's better. Pooping. Always use poop. Whenever you got to say anything, just be like, "Aw, man, what the poop is this?" Okay, it's great. It's perfect. Poopy head, it's a good insult. It's good. Continuing on. The problem is, unlike normally, my anxiety is actually pretty well founded. As far as I can tell, the first place I'm going is Mexico City. I was in north central Mexico last time and never went to the south. And unlike before, I'm not surrounded by a whole youth group and adults giving the trip. I'm the adult this time, alone, until I reach my friend's house, in what is pretty much the Chicago of the world. Not speaking the language. Why did that pop up? Hold on. I'm trying to read here. Where was I? Sorry. Difficulties. Okay. Yeah, not speaking the language or having any common sense that actually works in that environment like that. The rest of the trip is safer. But holy gang wars Batman, how brain dead did I have to be to buy that ticket? I'm not brain dead. I committed specifically because I knew if I didn't, it would mean I never risk getting hurt. And learning to manage risk is extremely valuable. I'm optimistic. I'm researching. Apparently, everything on my computer is restarting at the same time. So I'm reading this. Um, I'm optimistic. I'm researching ahead of time. I'm not going to in blind as a bat and looking like the most witless American tourist to ever land in South America. But wow, it is really hard to tell my nerves that. Yeah, wow. Well said. Very well said. You're hacking my computer. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Literally, I don't know what happened, but Explorer, like, Windows Explorer, not the internet program that allows you to browse, but like just that which allows you to explore your folders. That just stopped, and then my system tray disappeared, and then everything restarted, and I don't know why, but it's fine now. But things kept on popping up in the place I was trying to read. So, oh well, things happen, and
It just wanted attention.
Yeah, it did. It really did, and that's okay. It got some. Yeah, awesome. Kendra says you traveled to Europe and back in 2015. Wow, 7 countries in 16 days. Jeez. Yeah, that's a lot. And I think, especially going to South America, that is a respectfully scary thing. Not that South America is a terrible or horrific place, but there certainly are things that are scary there. Especially on top of not knowing how to speak their language. I think that one being a pretty major one. On top of being the leader, if you will, of of multiple children. I'm guessing youths, whatever it is. I don't know how many you're overseeing, but wow, I can see how it's scary.
I think they're not overseeing children. They're going to meet friends.
They said that there's. Hold on. I thought they said something about a youth group.
No, that was when they were younger. They went as part of a youth group, but now they're going as like a solo trip.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I'm not going entirely alone. Okay. Well, you can. Yeah, you said that. Yeah. Last time you were in Central Mexico, and unlike before, you're not surrounded by a whole youth group and adults guiding the trip. You're the adult this time, alone. So I guess I threw in there the idea that maybe you were guiding a youth trip. You went with a youth group in the past. Cool. All right, this time there's no group. Okay, well that's better. That's a lot less scary. I was thinking that yeah, well geez, that would have been terrifying. Terrifying. Especially, yeah, wow. Anyways, well, that's good. I'm glad that that's not the case. I'm gonna go ahead and quickly put this topic in so that you guys can see the summary of it. And yeah, there we go. So this is a trip, and I'm sure it's going to be a mentally exhausting working up to the point where you're flying out. And I'll tell you, I've been overseas multiple times now, but never been to Mexico. I have been to a country where I don't speak their language though. So a little bit more on that later. For now, I'm gonna give it over to Haley, see what she's got for all of us.
Yeah. So I would like to say I completely understand anxiety. I've definitely dealt with anxiety a lot throughout my life. And I also understand like the fear of unknown and the fear of getting out there and traveling alone. Something interesting is I'm actually going to be going to Guatemala next week. I'm technically going as part of a group. It's a humanitarian trip, but I don't know anyone I'm going with, if I'm being realistic. And it's definitely kind of scary. Um, and then later in the summer, I'm going to be going to Denver by myself, which is also
Hmm.
a little bit
Hmm.
stressful because, you know, it's always scary to be going someplace new where you're alone and you always know that there's potential dangers in the world.
Yep.
So I completely understand the feelings. Um, and I also know that it can be really hard to overcome those feelings because you can prepare as much as you can and try to rationalize the thoughts, but anxiety isn't rational. So it doesn't
Right.
always listen to the logic. But first of all, I'm proud of you for putting yourself out there and being willing to try these things. I
Absolutely.
agree that it's an important thing to do and it will I'm certain it'll be a valuable experience for you. From what it sounds like you're doing all the right things with making sure you have a plan and you're looking into all the risks. And it sounds like you're doing everything you can to prepare and not put yourself into a dangerous spot. And I mean, that's the best thing you can do, I think, is just research the area where you're going to be going and look into ways you can better protect yourself. And then the other thing I think to that you could remind yourself of to help bring you some peace is that even though you'll be traveling there alone, your friend will be there with you once you get to Mexico City. And so once you're actually in the city, you're no longer alone. And I'm assuming since that's where your friend lives, they're going to speak the language and know the area. And so then your friend will be able to help you out there. And at least in my mind, I think that remembering that can help bring a lot of peace of mind.
Hmm.
Another thing you could try doing is you could try actually reaching out to your friend with some of your concerns, and they might be able to help calm some of your concerns, seeing as they actually live in the place, so they're going to know it better, and they'll be the one there with you, so they might know better how to help you get over some of those fears that you're feeling.
Hmm.
I'm kind of interested in hearing what Ryan has to say. I'm still working through some of my thoughts.
Sure. I mean, I don't really have too many. I think just right along with you, I'm really proud of you for doing this. I think that traveling is definitely a way to learn a lot in a quick period of time. I've definitely experienced that myself and find that it is true, especially when it is a little scary, a little difficult, a little different, and it's completely different culture. You're in a place where you don't have anything necessarily. You don't have a routine or a normal, right? You don't have any of that, so it's like you're kind of just um, I don't know, free falling in a way, and that's really cool. So, just want to say, on top of what Haley said, yeah, very very impressed and proud. So, yeah, yeah, and the bus stop is in the bad area, of course. Yeah, right, right. So, oh gosh, okay, it's it is scary, um, and rightfully so. I mean, you should definitely aim to protect yourself the best you can. I think one thing that helps me with my anxiety is to ask people who have been there or who have done that before their their stories. And so, I mean, obviously that's what you're doing right now, but I find that it does help with some anxiety to maybe call up your friend, like Haley was suggesting, and just ask them questions, and kind of let that ease you a bit. Um, Anxiety is one of those things that it's like if you let it control you, which you're not, which is so awesome, but if you let it control you, then it will eventually, it can take over your entire life. Not that every fear needs to be conquered, because some things you literally just don't have to do. Like, I don't know, like run out into the middle of the street in a busy traffic. It's like there's a good reason that's scary, and you don't need to conquer that fear, right? So just keep that in mind, right? Obviously, but for certain things in life, like social experiences and stuff like that, where we have anxiety attacks and we can't logic our way out of it, it just won't go away. Yeah, we need to face those things head on, and one of the best ways to do that is to get outside your comfort zone and just live in that moment and just Do your best. Here's some of my thoughts. When I was in, let's talk about the Philippines. Okay, I went to the Philippines for 2 weeks, and I flew there on my own. There was no one with me, and so then I landed, and luckily at the airport waiting for me was the person that I was going to be with for basically the rest of the trip. But I remember feeling excited because I don't know what it is, but I always love walking through an airport. I love it. Especially if I'm just on my own or kind of have free time, I can just chill. And it feels great. Customs was no big deal. And it was actually fun for me to go through customs. As for speaking different language, I ended up in Japan first, and I got to speak some Japanese there for a little bit. And then I landed in the Philippines, and then went through customs again. And when I was in the Philippines, people just looked at me and said, "That's an American. He speaks English." And so then they just like attempted to speak English, and most of them were very good. Good enough that I knew I could communicate with them on some basic level, right? And so you're going to Mexico City. Keep in mind that most people from Mexico, maybe not most, but a lot of people from Mexico know English because it's pretty much really important, and we're right there. We're on the border, and it's pretty close for them, and it's a big deal. Do all of them? No. I wouldn't even say most of them do, but enough of them do that if you need help, you can ask. You're going to say, "Oh, wow, in Japan enclave in Brazil. Okay, cool, Japanese enclave in Brazil. That's fun. It's going to be a great opportunity to practice." That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, that's exciting, man. So, obviously, you probably know this. Brazil and Mexico speak two different languages. Brazil speaks Portuguese. So you can just say, "Now falo en Portuguese." And for if you're in Mexico and they speak Spanish, you can say "No español," and then you're good. No, you can honestly you can get by on a little. You could do a little bit of language research, but you don't have to learn much. I would learn the word help, and that would be the main one. Just learn that one, because that's really what you need. Help. Say, learn the one word for help in all three languages, if you will. Because if you learn that one, you can get people's attention, and then you can start speaking English and see if anybody can help you in English. Because there's actually a lot of people around the world that speak English in other countries. So, yeah. Oh, there you go. You've got some Portuguese in you. That's great. And as Kendra suggested, you can bring a translator. I think that is super useful. Bring your phone, and or whatever device you can that can help you. But okay, your Brazilian friends are teaching you. That makes sense. Yeah, you just don't know any Spanish at all. Okay. Well, some aid, some comfort to you. Spanish, very intuitive. If you know Portuguese some. And also English. English and Portuguese share so many words, or similar type words, with Spanish. Of course, as well is Italian in that group, because they're all Latin. They're all Latin based, right? And French, but French is not really Latin based. I would not say. People say it is, and it is, but it's so far removed. It's its own thing. It is not like any of the other languages. I mean, some words in French are similar to Spanish ones, but that's not very much. There you go. Yeah, rojo, that's red. So, yeah. Yes, Portuguese is just spicy Spanish. That is correct. So if you can just tone down your Spanish a little bit, make it a little less spicy, and then you're gonna, or sorry, your Portuguese. Tone down your Portuguese, make it a little less spicy. Throw some salt on it. There you go. You got some Spanish. Also, throw some beans on it too for good measure. Preferably black or any type of Mexican bean. You'll be good. French blows your mind. Yeah. Me too. The French language outrages me because everything that's wrong with the English language is because of the French language. Um, Pretty much, almost entirely across the board. But that's fine. That's fine. It's all right. Yeah. Anyways, so to calm your nerves, I would say, yeah, do your research. That's great. Recognize what dangers there are. Come to that reality, and that's fair to be afraid of them. Don't let it stop you. If this is your quest, and this is your quest, right? You need to be brave, and just be mindful of your surroundings, right? That's important. It's very important. I know that in certain places, they where people aren't so kind to each other, let's say, they take advantage of tourists. That is true. So keep your stuff that's on you not loose. For example, you can get a what's called a wrist wallet, or or any type of pockets that are sealed in better ways than, let's just say, completely open. And be wary of people. Stand maybe in a place that you find is going to be the safest. I have met somebody. I was thinking maybe this wouldn't be a good story to tell, but I think it's worth it just for the sake of telling in short that there is really danger out there for tourists, and it's important that you stand in such a way that doesn't put you in a position that people will take advantage of you. That can be your posture, and it can also be your location. Okay? So, I mean, keep those things in mind, sure, but also have fun, you know? Look into the fun stuff. Look into, what's exciting, what you're going to be doing over there, a little bit of the culture that you're going to experience. Think about the friend that you're going to go meet up with. Ask them if they can meet you at the airport if you're really not feeling safe about it. And they want you to take the bus. Ask them if they could take the bus out to you, and then you guys could take the bus back together. If they can't do that for you, that's a bummer. But if they can, that'd be awesome. And if they can't do it because there's a time constraint, then you could say, well, I'll just wait here at the airport and then until you kind of come pick me up. That's completely okay to do. Remember, that's completely okay to do. Because airports are generally pretty safe, quite honestly. They're quite safe. Yeah, they're very safe. So I would say if you need to, Kishan, just hang out in the airport until they can get a bus ride there, and then take you. You can both go back together. It's okay to do that. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, you're in a strange place and you don't know your own way around, and you feel like, oh man, what if I catch the wrong bus, get off at the wrong time, or whatever? Now I'm completely lost. And I think that's totally fair to just start from the ground zero and be like, okay, we're not getting lost. We're gonna do this step by step with somebody else. Oh, okay. You said I'm going to visit their local orchestra rehearsal. My friends are musicians, and Latin America is awesome for percussionists like me. Absolutely true. Yeah, very, very true. So, yeah. The story I was going to tell was I remember, relevant to you, unfortunately, Haley. One time I was in Denver. I went to Denver a lot. Never experienced too much bad. But I was literally in the ghettos of Denver because my job was to take pictures of houses that were going under foreclosure. They were losing their houses. And so I ended up in the ghetto neighborhood because, well, they couldn't pay their rent, or they couldn't pay their housing fee, I mean. And yeah, so I took a couple of pictures of houses here and there and here and there. I took the house pictures I needed to. I kind of left the area, and I parked. It was still in the ghetto, but it was on the street a little bit away from the houses, because I had to fill out some paperwork. And while I was doing that, someone came up and knocked on my window, and I was like, whoa. And then I kind of rolled it down, and I was like, hey. And he was like, hey, I need help. And I was like, okay. And he's like, do you have any money on you? And I was like, no, what's wrong? What are you looking for? Are you going somewhere? And he said, yeah, I really need to get up to my, um, I guess he said hotel. We'll go with that. My apartment. That's the word. And I said, okay. And I took a big risk, but I wasn't afraid. So, I just like, hey, come in. So I said, hey, get in the car. We'll talk about it. And he's like, okay. And so he got in the car and we talked about it. And what happened was he was from Italy. And he was taking a vacation there. And while he was sitting at the bus stop, someone came up from behind him and hit him in the head with something really hard. He blacked out and he woke up without his wallet. And then he didn't have his wallet, so he didn't have his passport. He was freaking out because he's like, I have to go home in a couple of days. I don't have my passport. And that, I don't even know what's going to happen because I need that in order to even get on a plane or whatever. So I was like, dang, that's crazy. I went out with him. I got him something to drink. He needed water and stuff. So I got him some of that. I took him to his apartment and I dropped him off. And he's like, I don't even have my keys. I don't know how I'm going to get in. And I'm like, just talk to the lady up front. Hopefully they recognize you. That's all you can do. And yeah, so he went on his own adventure from there. I don't know what happened from there, right? But that was crazy. Things like that happen. It's true. So you have to be mindful of where you're at. If you're in a dangerous part of town, well then be aware of the fact that you're in a dangerous part of town, right? That is important, sincerely. And do your best to avoid the dangerous parts of town. I mean, honestly, if you can, just avoid the dangerous parts of towns. I used to go to Flint, Michigan a lot, and there was just part of towns you just know, like, okay, yeah, don't drive through that spot. Go around it. Because you'd, like, one time you took a trip, you go down that road, and people would be, like, out on the street yelling at you and being like, you're in the wrong kind of town, buddy. Whatever, trying to, scare you and stuff like that. And it's just like, that's not worth it. Just go around. So it's worth taking a longer trip if you have to, especially if it's for your own safety. So just be realistic. Solve that problem now, and then you don't have to be anxious about it in the future. Solve that problem now. Like, okay, there's a different bus stop I can take. Yeah, it's going to take longer, but then I don't have to be anxious about what could happen to me. It's more responsible. You're being more responsible with your body, right? And everything else. So it's okay to do that. You don't have to brave the dangerous place if it's not necessary, right? In fact, it could be wise to not do so, and wisdom is important to follow. So, I don't mean to scare you. I just mean to say there's always a safer option, usually, in these types of scenarios. And so feel free to just go, I'm going to take a different bus. I'm going to go around. I'm going to wait at the airport. I'm going to do whatever, right? And it'll help free up some of that anxiety, because then you can calm down and be like, okay, yeah, I don't have to worry about that. Because then you don't have to deal with the crazy unknowns of other people. You're just dealing with the crazy unknown of not knowing where you are exactly and the culture, but not necessarily dangerous people. So that's my suggestion. I don't know if I'll have very much more to say, but I'm going to give it over to Haley and see what she's got.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. You said some of the same things I was thinking of. Like when they mentioned that they're going to have to take the bus to get to their friend, I was also going to suggest they could see if their friend would be willing to come meet them at the airport. Last summer, I actually went to Texas for a week, and I was flying out alone. I was going to go visit a friend, and I was nervous to fly out alone. I mean, it was pretty much my first time going on an airplane like that. And my friend left me alone at the airport for like 2 hours. I was not super happy about it, but it was all right, and the trip was fun. But so I think if your friend is able to meet you there, that would be great. Or you could even see if they could just meet you part way there. If it's too much of a trip for them to go the entire 4 hours, you could see if they could meet you part of the way And I think that could help ease some of the anxiety as well, just because then it's like, okay, I'll see my friend soon enough. I don't have to go all the way there before I'm getting to them. So I'm sure you could probably find some kind of compromise with your friend. I think that would be a good way to ease your anxiety. And I agree with Ryan where you should look at alternative routes as well and see what you feel safest with. And then again, just be aware of all the risks. And you said that you commented that there's a difference between aware and nervous, which is true. There is a difference between being aware and nervous could make you look like a target. But I think when you actually get out there, I think your survival instincts will probably kick in, and you'll be able to give off the appearance you need to in order to keep yourself safe. Our minds are really powerful tools, and they're really good at doing amazing things in situations that we can't even imagine them doing. So I think as long as you do your thorough preparations and have a plan, then once that you actually take the trip, then you can just stick with your plan, and that'll help give you some sense of familiarity because you've created this plan and now you're following this plan, and so you're not completely lost and idealist. So I think that could be a way to help ease the anxiety. And then I also liked what you said about looking into the fun things as well. Because if the only thing you look into are the dangers, then the only thing you're going to be seeing is how dangerous this place is, and then
Yeah.
it's just going to scare you more and more. But if you look into the dangers a reasonable amount so that you can be aware of potential risks and how you can best prepare to avoid them, but then also look into all the fun things. And then I think even discussing with your friend fun things that you'll be doing together, that will help build a sense of excitement. And then along with the anxiety and like the knowledge of the dangers, you'll have that excitement to help kind of balance it out and help you be looking forward to the trip. And that can also help give you some of the confidence you might need to not appear so nervous rather than just aware. You said that you're going to be going to an orchestra concert. I think that sounds like a lot of fun. And it sounds like you're really excited for it too. So I think focusing on what you're excited for is going to help you more than focusing on all the different risks. Again, it is important to be aware of them, but you can be aware of them without focusing on them. And I think that's going to be the best way for you to combat your anxiety is instead of repeatedly running through your mind all the different risks or repeatedly trying to tell yourself why you shouldn't be so scared of those risks, instead you should try focusing on the exciting parts of the trip and let yourself think through all the fun things you're going to be able to experience and all the different things you might be able to learn. And I think that will kind of help calm the anxiety because then you're no longer trying to rationalize the risks or invalidate any of those nervous feelings, but instead you're just shifting your mindset and focusing on something more positive to help bring some of the more positive feelings into the trip.
Yeah, very well said. I completely agree with that. Spend way more time looking at the fun stuff and get your mind wrapped up and excited for that. And I'm just saying, for the scary stuff, just solve it now if you can. Figure out ways that you can just dodge around it and be like, okay, now I don't have to worry about that. Now it's off my mind and I can be excited for the rest of the trip. If there are things for some reason you literally can't solve and you have to adventure through a scary part, then yeah, I would say you can only do so much then, right? Don't continue to sweat it. Spend more time just focusing on the positives. Spend more time focusing on what's the point of what you're doing, and spend less time focusing on the scary stuff because don't literally sit in your room watching YouTube videos of people getting mugged in Mexico City specifically, right? Or anywhere, right? Because that'll just fill your mind with more reasons to focus on it and be nervous and habitually just off. So I would say, I like what Haley said. Definitely spend as much time as you can thinking about what you can do and that's fun and what you're going to be doing and what you're going for and the and how you're going to grow as a result of this experience and all that. So completely agree. Well said, Haley. Good advice, I think. So I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think that about covers it, unless Kishin has anything else they want to ask about.
Yeah. If you have anything else, please feel free to. I am going to mark this one completed, answered. Hopefully we did it justice. I hope that something that we said was helpful or useful. I think a lot of it you already know. To be honest, I mean, you're very smart and intelligent. And I don't expect that I can say much that you don't already know. But yeah, I would say probably the best thing you could do is just get excited for what's to come. After you've solved, if there's anything you can solve to remove yourself from dangerous experiences, solve that. But if there's nothing else, then just spend time looking into all the fun stuff. Spend time learning some of the language and having fun with that. Like learning how to say, like, excuse me, or I would like to eat, or whatever sounds like a fun couple of words you can interact with people on, like, hello, how are you, nice weather, isn't it? Sorry, I'm thinking of Japanese, so everything that's coming to my head is Japanese phrases, I know. So anyways, I think that would be great.
Earlier when you were commenting on when you were like speaking the different languages, I was gonna say, wow, I didn't realize we were getting language lessons with Ryan today.
Yeah, here we are. Welcome. Yes. we're here to learn language. We can do, I'm actually not very fluent. I'm not fluent in any language other than maybe English, but I can speak a little bit of Spanish, a little bit of Portuguese, the tiniest amount of that. Geez, barely any. And then most thing I can speak the most of is Japanese, but it's not that great. Really isn't. I can also speak a bit of Filipino, or sorry, Tagalog. So yeah, and Tagalog shares a culture with Latin America, so it's great.
Did you know there's multiple languages spoken in the Philippines?
Yes, I do, and I only speak one of them, and the other ones I don't. I've only encountered one person that speaks something that isn't Tagalog, but luckily they spoke English, so I could speak with them. But they spoke the other one, and one of the other ones, I just don't know what it was. Do you know what they are?
I know there's one called Hiligayna.
Okay, I think okay, that might have been it.
I know that one because we have one of the grad students in my research lab is actually from the Philippines. And I think that's his first language is Hiligayna. Nice.
That's fun. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because the Philippines isn't a huge place, but yeah, they do have multiple languages, which makes it for me, that's very strange. Like, how did that happen? Just unique. I mean, yeah. I mean, I kind of know how it happened because I know some history, but it's just kind of interesting that there still exists two language there, or well, three, I suppose. Yeah.
And yeah, Kishin, you said it's more about hearing it back, making sure you're not crazy and hearing other people's experiences. I understand it. Sometimes the best thing we can do for our anxiety is to get some of that validation and to like make sure that what we're feeling is valid and what you're feeling is very valid. And so, you're not crazy. It sounds like you're doing all the right things from what you described. And yeah, I think finding people who have experiences is a great thing to do, and hearing about their experiences should be great.
Yeah, and if you're generally friendly, even if you don't speak their language, if you're generally friendly, most people will be friendly back, no matter what culture you're in. I've been to a couple, and never any problems with that. So, yeah, just be your friendly self and give people kindness and grace, and I'm sure it will work out. And I mean, worst case scenario, you're gonna go see your friend anyways. So if something bad does happen, let's say, well, you still get to go to your friend and work things out from there, and it's not game over, right? And you're fine. If you get robbed or something like that, let's say, or you lose your passport and all that happens to you, right? You'll work through it, because that will be an experience itself, and it might be like an extended experience you weren't expecting to experience. You might end up in that country for a little longer than you wanted, but it'll be if it goes bad, what you'll have is an even better experience in some ways, because that's how experiences kind of work sometimes. So I would say, bring it on. Bring it on. Whatever happens, bring it on. You can't control everything around you. Just be excited for what's to come, and that you're going to make the best of no matter what comes, right? Bring it on. I think that's the attitude to have. Yep, and you're not crazy, of course. So, yeah, thank you for this topic. Thank you for allowing us to speak on it. I hope, that was helpful. And also on the Denver thing, Haley, I don't think you have to worry at all. That was in the far ghetto side of Denver. I don't expect you to be going anywhere near that section, so you'll probably be all right.
Yeah, I'm not really planning to get like hit on the head and robbed, but
not planning on it. Bummer. You know, because great experience.
It could be fun. It could be an experience.
No, I would not recommend that to anybody, no matter where they're at. Even if they're at their own house and everything's fine, just like don't get hit in the head so hard that it knocks you out. That
does
scary.
Sound kind of bad for your brain.
Mm-hmm.
But on the plus side, I am an organ donor, so
okay. I guess that's a plus. Wow. Nice looking at the positives. I'm going to go ahead and send this next topic to you. I think as long as Kendra's still with us. Kendra, you're still here, right? You didn't put your name in the I guess in the name box for when you submitted the topic, but you wrote at the very bottom, "Love Kendra," so I figured it was okay if okay, great.
yeah.
I'm going to then go ahead and pull this topic right up on the screen so you guys can read along. This topic from Kendra, I titled it "Sing Scared." I thought that was a cute title, and it reads as follows. Hey everyone, it has been a while since I had a topic, and I have been busy working almost every day. Recently, I've been asked to sing at church on Saturday evenings, which is no big deal, as I go to church on Saturdays normally. I have sung at least 3 Saturdays, and I have been asked again to sing, and it's not like I can't say no. I am just a people pleaser. For some reason, I feel embarrassed when I sing at church. I am fine singing when I am in the pews, but once I am in the back singing into the microphone, leading the songs, I feel small. And after church, I have everyone telling me what a beautiful voice I have, and that I need to continue to sing in church, and thanking me for singing. I get even more embarrassed by the compliments. I know that my singing voice is a gift from God, and I should be using it to glorify Him. I think I am just self-conscious when I sing into the microphone, because one small mistake and everyone will hear it, and I can't just pause and rewind and redo it like I can when I do recordings in my room. Also, people can see my face, and know me, so I think that's also a factor. Anyways, I kind of just wanted to get this off my chest. Thanks for listening. God bless. Love, Kendra. Wonderful. Thank you, Kendra. Thank you for this topic, and thank you for sharing your embarrassment with us. Thank you for sharing your heart and your experience with us. I think that takes guts to do. It takes guts to admit that we're afraid, or that we're embarrassed, or that it's, what we're doing makes us nervous. So I applaud you on that. I salute you. And also, it's awesome that you're singing in your church and you're participating in order to glorify God. And even though it's scary, you're doing it anyways. I think that's awesome. And I can tell you, um, it's a pretty common experience to get embarrassed, to get nervous. Quick question: you say you get embarrassed, but do you also get like the shakes where your body starts shaking from nervousness, or is that not included in this experience of embarrassment? Please let me know so that I can better address some of my thoughts. But while I wait for that answer, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to give it over to Haley here. As soon as I put this topic on, I forgot to press start. There it is. Okay, there we are. All right, Haley, it is all yours.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm also interested to hear whether or not you get shaky. Kendra says normally they don't get shaky, but they do
Oh,
get butterflies in their stomach.
yeah.
So that's nice. I will say I've sung in front of crowds before, and my anxiety kicks in,
Mm.
and it can be real bad sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I'm a bad singer. People will tell me I have a beautiful voice too, but like, it's just I think it's scary putting yourself out there. Um, and it's definitely it can be embarrassing even when it's something you enjoy doing. It can be embarrassing to share some of your talents with other people, I think. But
Mm.
honestly, I think the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll start to get with it because it'll start to feel more familiar and you'll start to see that everything will be okay. And then even if you do make a mistake, um, you'll start to be able to realize that it's not the end of the world. And honestly, a lot of times people don't even recognize when we make mistakes. Like, I've done a lot of different performances throughout my life. I've done dance and piano and singing and other things. And um you can make mistakes, but as long as you don't let it show with your response to the mistake, if you just keep moving forward, a lot of times people don't even realize that it was a mistake. You can play it off as something that was intentional, and then people will just think it was great. And let's see, Kendra says, last Saturday I had to sing a chant because of Pentecost, and I did practice it and I thought I would do good. However, the
Mm.
pianist messed up and skipped the second verse, so then I got lost.
Mm.
Yeah, well, that is kind of on the pianist. It said, I didn't know where to sing, and so I was mumbling and people could hear it. People were following along because it was part of the reading. Um, yeah, I get that too. There
Mm.
was one time I was doing a solo at something that was called Solo and Ensemble. It was a choir thing. And the pianist, who was accompanying me wasn't the pianist I was used to practicing with. And she hesitated on a part where I was used to the piano coming in, but I ended up just having to sing, keep singing through it. And
Mm.
if you, I have a recording of it actually, and if you hear it, you can hear like a slight hesitation in the recording, but I was able to pull myself together and keep going.
Mm.
Um, honestly, but you said you didn't know where to sing, so you were mumbling and people could hear it. I doubt anyone would have blamed you, especially if people were following along because it was part of the reading. Then they're going to notice that the pianist probably skipped the second verse, in which case, no one's going to blame you for being confused about where you're going to be singing. But, um, honestly, these things happen, and from what it sounds like, people still really loved it. I mean, you were asked to sing again, so it's not like, oh, you messed up and now they never want to hear you sing again. They clearly love your voice, and your voice is bringing them the spirit, and so they want you to be able to keep singing, and they want to be able to continue feeling God's spirit through your voice. And so I understand feeling embarrassed by the compliments, and I understand getting self conscious and worrying about making mistakes, but I think honestly, just to remember mistakes happen, but they're not the end of the world and they don't diminish your worth. Um, if mistakes were to diminish our worth, then I think we'd all be doomed.
Mm.
But fortunately, God has anticipated that we'll make mistakes. We're not meant to be perfect beings. Um, and just as you do it more and more, you'll get more experience and more confident. And then I think as you gain that experience and confidence, it'll also help you be able to make less mistakes. Or if the pianist messes up again, it might help you be able to adapt more quickly to those situations. So if anything, it'll not only be you blessing others by sharing God's spirit and helping share your testimony of Him through your singing, it'll also be helping you grow as an artist and teaching you more valuable skills and confidence. You say that you're a people pleaser, but from what you described, it sounds like you mostly enjoy being able to do this. You may get embarrassed, but it doesn't sound like you don't want to do it at all. If you really don't want to do it, then I mean, I understand people pleasing, but it's also important to speak up for yourself. But to me, it sounds like it is something that you enjoy, but there's just the fear and embarrassment that's associated with it, which is totally understandable. But I think it's great that that's something you're willing to do, and it's it's always nice when people are willing to share their talents and blessings with others. And I mean, I know that for me, music is one of the best ways that I can feel God's spirit. I've always loved music, and I think it just has a special spirit of God that it can bring. And so I think it's great that you're willing to use your gift to help bring that spirit. And I mean, again, obviously the members of your church really appreciate it as well if they want you to keep doing it. So, Ryan, do you have any thoughts?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, and I completely agree with you. I mean, I'm of course on all of that. There's a saying. I think it might be Saint Augustine, but I could be wrong. They have a quote: "He who sings prays twice." Just to emphasize just what you say. You know, singing is one of the most beautiful and like sort of in-depth experiences. Like we can feel it at the same time. I like to, on occasion, like when I'm at church or something and a song is just playing in the background, really nice to pray during like this, a light, gentle song is playing because it kind of gets you feeling the right mood for prayer, for at least the thoughts that you have to think about, it could be really useful. So it's really cool we can use those tools as humans to enlighten or to deepen our experience of worship or prayer or any sort of faith. So it's great. But anyhow, moving to back to your topic for embarrassment, I think obviously there are many different embarrassing things. I remember, oh gosh, the amount of times that I've been embarrassed because my mom or someone has played my own music for other people in front of me. That's embarrassing. I just don't know what to do other than sit there. And eventually, after it's happened like 20 times, I can get used to it and just be like, okay, yeah, this is what it is. Excuse me. Sorry. And I'm sure that's kind of going to be the case for you. The more you just do it, right? And that's sort of the antidote. The more you sing, the easier it will get. If you do this for long enough, it will be second nature. It'll be like, of course, that's what I do every week. But that doesn't mean even after doing it for a year, you won't sometimes get embarrassed. To make lighter even, because Haley did a good job at this, I'm going to make it even lighter on you. When you mess up in a song, even if people notice, they don't remember. Like by the time mass or whatever church service or whatever, is done, they're not thinking about that anymore. They're thinking about all the things that you got right because it was a pretty experience for them, emotionally or audibly, right? We can experience that music. And so they're just like, yeah, they did such a great job. Even if you make a couple of mess ups, even if you're going down these, like I hear it all the time. But then like, I don't remember a time specifically. I just know that I've heard it, right? Of times where people are singing a song and then all of a sudden they trip up over their words or they skip a line and then they're like, oh shoot, what do I do? Or they just pause and they're like, I wasn't ready for what just happened, and then they have to like catch up or start over. I hear that kind of stuff in church all the time. By the end of it, I've completely forgotten. I know that I've heard it. I can't tell you where it was in the during the service or whatever. Like I can't remember. People don't remember that stuff that much, especially if you're good. If you're good, right? If you're a good singer, people are saying that you're doing great. So that's that's a good sign. If you're good enough at singing, you can make mistakes, and people are just so floored by how good of a singer you are, they completely forget that you ever made a mistake. It's just how it is. I by the way have gotten the chance to hear Haley sing, and she is an excellent singer. And by the way, she's a very beautiful singer. I've gotten to hear her on multiple different occasions, and she's wonderful, and very impressive. And I've seen her sing on stage, and yeah, I don't even know if you've messed up during any of those. I'm sure you probably have, and I don't know. I don't remember when or where if you have. So we all mess up. I mean, constantly. When I play the piano, I always get a wrong note here or there somewhere in whatever I'm doing, and I roll with it. I just keep on going. Is it embarrassing? I think the better thing to say is I move from embarrassing to recognizing like it happens, and it's like, okay, that didn't go as planned, but it doesn't mean it's embarrassing. That wasn't what I wanted, but it wasn't embarrassing, right? Now some people are really intense, especially with music, and they'll be like, that wasn't embarrassing, that was an atrocity, right? That was unacceptable, right? And some people go down that line, and you know what? There's a place for that. There are musicians who are perfectionists, and they'll do a performance and you won't even hear one mistake, but they've also practiced it for like 100 hours or more, and are very hard on themselves. And generally speaking, this is very general, but their happiness level off of their own music and their performances isn't very high. So even when they get a performance perfectly perfect and they don't make a single mistake and they did everything they wanted to, you would ask them like, hey, how did it go? How was it? And they'd be like, it was okay. It's like, okay, that sacrifice to me for you to just be like, it was, I did okay. I did just barely good enough. And it's like, that's how you experience yourself. I think you need to loosen up a little bit and just let yourself enjoy what you're doing, enjoy the music. And so I would urge you, if you can, I know that you're embarrassed, right? I would urge you to have more fun with it. I know it's in the middle of church, but there are ways to sing that are fun and you can enjoy them, and the people that are, and it's not disrespectful or irreverent, right? And so there's a certain couple of songs that I know within my church that I like to sing in fun ways, because it's fun. There's a couple of there's a couple of Irish ones, and those ones are fun because then I can kind of put on a little bit of an Irish, an Irish flick, if you will. Like you take the notes and go, whatever, at certain parts to make it sound more Irish. That's fun. It's fun. And then there are other ones where I kind of just like get a little bit raspy at certain points of the song, or like sing with certain emphasis on certain parts, and it makes it fun, right? And so if you can loosen up and allow yourself to experience the music that you're going into, so that you're not just thinking all eyes on me, right? You're not thinking, oh no, everybody's listening to me, I don't want to mess up, and this is embarrassing in the first place because everyone's hearing me sing and they know who I am, and that's just it's awkward and embarrassing because I'm I don't know, it just feels that way. And if you can kind of just let loose a little bit and put your mind into the music rather than having your mind on yourself and how other people see you, right? Or even how you see yourself. Take your mind off of how you see yourself. Take your mind off of how other people see you and just get into the music and let that be that. Also, since this is a place of worship for God, as you said, put your mind there, right? You're making an offering, right? What you're doing is using your gift to make an offering, right? So put your mind there. Put your mind in those places. And sort of just try to back off the whole everybody can see me thing. Back off the don't think about yourself. Think about God. Think about what it is you're doing in the music. Think about those things and think less about yourself. And I know that's hard. It's easier said than done, of course. But if you practice that, eventually at some point your mind will be able to just, that will be its natural place, right? It won't be the first time, but as you go through, it'll be its natural place to just be like, well, I'm here to serve. I'm here to get into some of the music and make it, splendor and glorious. And that's where you're at. That's where your brain is at, rather than, here I am on stage or in the back, whatever. That's my voice on the speakers and blah, 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 all kind of focusing back towards yourself. Embarrassment is a natural reaction to self-awareness, right? We're self-aware. We aren't embarrassed when we're not, right? So when you recognize yourself and you are unsure, you are uncertain of something, great reason to feel embarrassed, sure, right? But even someone who's completely sure of themselves might feel embarrassed if they're focusing on themselves. So the more you can kind of get away from that, the better. Now, again, easier said than done, of course. But allow yourself to just kind of be in the moment, if you will, and stop thinking about yourself while you're doing it. Yeah, takes practice, but you can get there. When you're in the pew in the church, you're not really thinking so much about yourself. You might be thinking about yourself a little bit, but you're thinking about yourself in context of the crowd, right? You're thinking of yourself in context of there aren't all eyes on you. You're just enjoying yourself, right? So if you can think out of the context, because remember, you're not there for you, right? No one is there for you. And I don't mean to insult you, of course, and you know this, but no one is there for you. They're there for God, right? They're there to worship. They're there for that. So you should also make that the target of your performance, if you will, to heighten that experience for everybody else, right? Because that's what they're there for. And that's what what's what you're there for, right? I mean, you know that you've been asked to sing. You didn't go there and be like, oh, I want to be a singer, so I'm going to go to this church, and then they'll eventually recognize me, and then I'll get to sing, and blah blah. Of course not. That's not your jam. That's not your gig here. You're literally just going up, and you're being taken out of your normal position to worship, and then you're put in a new one, and you're meant to worship in a new way that kind of puts you up in a spotlight. I would say forget about the spotlight. Just worship, right? And I think that hopefully can help. Now, I recognize, again, easier said than done, but important, very important. And so I hope that that's helpful. I think there might be more for me to say, but I'm going to give it back over to Haley. Do you have anything you'd like to add on that note?
Yeah, I was going to say, so Kendra was saying they're not certain why they might feel specifically embarrassed at church, but that it could be that they feel the attention they're getting afterwards shouldn't go to them. I can understand that. I mean, as Ryan was just saying, it's a place of worship. It's important to be focusing on God when we're at church trying to worship him. If you start to feel like maybe that people are starting to focus more on you rather than the message of the worship, one thing you could do is you can kind of like reroute those compliments back to God. Like if
Yeah,
someone
that's
was
what I
like,
do.
"Oh, you're really good at singing," you can be like, "Oh, thank you. I just feel like God really blessed me with this talent, so I'm glad that I can use it to share His Spirit or whatever." Like just as an example, you can find ways to kind of redirect the focus back to God while
Hmm.
still accepting their compliment. Um, I've always been a fan of um, making sure I give credit for my different talents to God when it's due, which I think is probably always. But but so that's one thing you could try if part of the reason you're feeling so embarrassed is because you feel like you're getting more attention and you want that attention to be going to God, then you have the power to redirect that focus back to God. Um, and so that could be something you could try, and you could see if that helps you feel less embarrassed. Um, if anything, maybe it'll help you feel more excited to do it because then you'll not only be getting to share your testimony through your singing, but then afterwards, when people are coming up to you, you can again be testifying of God by rerouting the conversation back to Him and helping remind people that it is a place of worship and that ultimately it's our God that's given us our talents and that He's the one who's given us everything. Um, so I think that's something you could try, and maybe it would help. I also think since you don't seem to be certain if that's why, it could be good to continue reflecting on what other things might be causing you to feel embarrassed at church specifically. Since you said singing at the Pops concert back in high school didn't cause any problems, but it's like specifically a church thing. I think taking time to reflect inside yourself and figure out exactly what it is that's the source of the embarrassment will be a good step to figuring out how you can then combat that embarrassment.
Hmm. Yeah, very well said. And if it is something along the lines of like you feeling like you're not worthy, I would say obviously no one is, and there's other people who've sung before you. Um, and also everyone is because we were made with voices and capable of singing, right? So it's like both. It's like no one's worthy and everybody is worthy. It's fine. Um, don't degrade yourself. Don't be like, well, I'm not a professional, so I shouldn't be up here or anything along those lines. It's like you were given a voice, use it, and it's beautiful. Use it. Yeah, it's great. So we're called to offer our gifts up to God, you know, and so that's what you're doing, and I think that's awesome. Um, as for embarrassment in general, I find that the best way to deal with embarrassment is to just be embarrassed. That's it. Like, and then embrace that awkwardness. Embrace the embarrassment. Let it be there and be happy about it. Just be like literally embrace the embarrassment. This applies to like across my whole life. For anything that I've decided to embrace, like especially awkward scenarios, like you know, people don't like awkward scenarios. People don't like things being awkward. That awkward silence, whatever. I would take it and I would be like, as soon as I realized that was an issue, I would just embrace it and I'd be like, yes, we're at that awkward silence. How long can we make it last? And then someone would speak and be like, oh man, you ruined it. Yeah, it was so awkward for a moment there. I loved it. You know, um, just really like get into it, get into that feeling, um, and let it be okay. Because if you celebrate it, then it's okay, right? And suddenly, it's funny because when you celebrate the awkward, and the awkward becomes desirable, it becomes it becomes it becomes the intention, and is then therefore destroyed, and it's no longer awkward. Because awkward exists in the scenario where awkward only exists, the awkward feeling, in a place where it's not wanted, right? From you. Other people might still feel awkward, but you won't. And it's the same thing with embarrassment. I used to publicly embarrass myself for the sake of fun, because I knew other people would think it would be funny, and then I would be able to laugh with them. Um, And then I noticed that I stopped worrying about being embarrassed. And when I stopped worrying about being embarrassed, sometimes I would get embarrassed, but it would be so much easier to overcome it. But mostly, I stopped being embarrassed altogether. So if I can just accept that I'm embarrassed and enjoy it, and be like, wow, this is a weird thing that we can even be embarrassed as humans, right? Just embrace it. Just maybe seek it out a little bit in your daily life. Do things that you know would be embarrassing, and then live in that moment. Experience it, seek it out, and then when you've made it attractive to yourself, it'll no longer be a problem. Why would it be attractive to be embarrassed? Well, it's interesting because humility is the best, the biggest, most important virtue, right? Humility. And embarrassment has something to do with humility. It's how we see ourselves, right? And the reason humility is such an important virtue, like the gateway virtue, if you will, is because you need humility in order to get any of the other virtues. Because you have to recognize where you're not perfect, right? And humility is that which allows us to recognize that. Humility is many things, but I think the best definition that I could ever come up with is understanding values of everything around you and living accordingly. It's not to put yourself under people or to shame yourself, right? It's to recognize that value which is inherent in every person, every object, and above, right? And when you live that out, when you actually live that out, you're humble because you recognize that you have no right to do some of these things that you might usually do if you weren't. And you act in accordance with, well, value. And it makes sense. And so we're all sort of still always striving on every virtue to get better. But humility is a really big one and is really useful. And it's the virtue that conquers pride, right? And pride is that which is usually the virtue that gets us stuck in pride is the anti-virtue that gets us stuck in any place where it's like we're too prideful to move on. We're too prideful that we cause ourselves a lot of trouble. And so it's okay to be proud of things, but to have pride is a different, right? It's a different thing. There's similar words, but they mean different things in nature. So anyways, my point is, it's okay to seek after embarrassment and to relish in it and to find joy in it because you know that it brings about a good. It brings about the recognition of self. The recognition of self is an amazing thing. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, it comes with its downfalls, like, I don't know, self-loathing, depression, just to name a few, embarrassment, of course. But wow, it's only because of self-recognition that we're allowed to grow so much as human beings and allowed to chase after virtues and recognize our faults and become better and recognize where we're good and talented and amazing and where we can be a gift to other people, right? Oh, it's so cool, so awesome. And so while at the same time, this one thing, self-recognition, this self-consciousness can be our downfall, it can also be our greatest asset. And so to find joy in those moments that are humiliating is to conquer pride and to allow the virtue of humility into your heart and into your way of being. And so I would highly suggest, again, I'm going to say it again for the last time, embrace the embarrassment, embrace the awkward, embrace that, because you're then utilizing this feeling and you're maximizing it in a way that will benefit you rather than allowing it to eat you and chew on you and being like, I don't like it, I don't know what to do, I just don't want to be here, and etc. Just take it on. Just take it on and let it be embarrassing. And at some point down the line, you're going to find yourself solving the essence of embarrassment, and you won't really have to feel it all that much anymore. And every once in a while, you'll find it, and you'll be like, "Oh, that was a spot where I needed a little humility. I need to address that." But it won't happen all that often. But every once in a while, you'll be put in a position where you're like, "Oh, that was embarrassing. Oh, embarrassing. There's that thing. I should be." That's like a reward at this point, you know. It's like being rewarded. Like, "Hey, buddy, here's a little little tip for you. I'll make your life experience better." So, embrace it. That's what I've got.
I really like what you said about embracing the awkward.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I've always liked to say is don't question it, just embrace it. I think it's kind of a fun way to live, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You can sit here questioning a whole bunch of things, or you can just learn to embrace them and just roll with it.
That's true.
And I think as we learn to be able to laugh at ourselves, it helps take away some of the edge. Like, you might sometimes still feel embarrassed, but it's a different kind of embarrassment when you can learn to laugh at yourself and, like,
Absolutely.
find joy and, like, humor in the situation. One of my classes last semester, our teacher would always start off by having us share two things. He would have us share good news, and he would have us share awkward and embarrassing stories. And, you know, you might think, oh, people wouldn't want to share their awkward and embarrassing stories because they're awkward and embarrassing. But I think, if anything, people found it kind of fun to be able to share those stories. And I think it helped them be able to learn to laugh more about the embarrassing moments and be able to not feel so embarrassed about them. Plus, I mean, what better place to share your embarrassing stories than in a class full of strangers? So I think, and our teacher too, he would share his embarrassing stories with us. And I think that also helped open up the environment to people being more willing to share their embarrassing stories. So I think, you know, everyone has embarrassing moments. We all do things that make us feel embarrassed, but learning to change your attitude and perspective about it, instead of being like, oh gosh, how could I have just done that? But instead, like, laughing at yourself and being like, oh, that was so silly of me. Or, like, just finding humor in the situation, I think can help a lot with being able to deal with it. And then it just turns embarrassment from something that might be kind of negative to just being another part of life and another part of being human. And I think it really is a great way to help you learn to embrace it.
Very well said. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Great. That's awesome that your teacher did that. That's great because, yeah, I remember being in a class that I think did something like that, and it's interesting how what was an embarrassing story now becomes like, oh, I can't wait to share mine. This is one, you know, and it becomes fun. It becomes fun to share them. So very cool.
That's what I've always felt. I was like, it would then, like, even as I would, like, go throughout my day, I would be thinking, oh, I wonder if I have anything I could share in class, like, whether it was good news or, like, awkward, embarrassing moments. It, like, helped. I think it, like, helped me, first of all, start looking for, like, good news, but then also, like, if things embarrassing happened, it helped me, like, get out of my head and be able to, like, see it as something funny to share and, like, be excited to be like, oh, look, I just experienced this. Now I have a funny story I can share. So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, Kendra, I don't have much else. Do you?
No, I think that's about everything I've got.
Okay. That's all right. So there you go, Kendra. I hope that some of that was helpful. I am cheering you on, and I think that it's awesome that you're, even though you feel embarrassed by it, you're sticking through it, and you've been being a gift to others around you. I think that's so cool. Keep at it. I think that's lovely, and I'm proud of you. I think you're amazing. You're always amazing. Pretty much every time you're ever in here, you're just such a loving, kind, gentle person, and you're just a bundle, like just a bundle of like many things, and they're all lovely and cute. So thanks for being here with us, and yeah, hope that was helpful. Um. Oh well, then Marhandi, you just have to make more accounts and press the like button a few more times for us. Thank you. Um. 11 viewers, but only 8 likes. What's wrong with these people? No, it's fine, guys. I appreciate any likes that we get. I forget that that's even
You know
a part
what?
of YouTube.
I'll admit I was one of those 11 viewers that hadn't liked the video, but I have repented of my sins and pressed the
Oh,
like button.
dang. Wow, Marandi, you've wow, thanks. Maybe I should hire you as our marketer. You seem to be able to have some influence on people's activities and watching our show. Marandi's got
I
skills.
also kind of forget like buttons exist sometimes, though.
Yeah, me too. I don't ever press any of the buttons. Earlier this week, I accidentally pressed the subscribe button, and I was like, no, I meant to click on the video. Oh crap! I'm gonna unsubscribe. Oh man, I hope they didn't get the message that said Static P subscribed to you, and then I'm already unsubscribed. No.
It's like at that point you're just committed. I guess you're subscribed now.
Yeah, I don't even remember what it was. It was some random channel. I was like trying to pause the video. I don't even remember what it was on. It was just something. Oh, it was a tutorial for how to do something on OBS. That's what it was. Yeah, it was kind of. I was like, so unexpected. Anyways, yeah. So we are out of topics at the moment. We have 20 minutes left of the show, or actually, we started a little bit late, so we have about 30 minutes. So if anyone has a topic, that'd be really awesome and lovely. Has Static P subscribed to Don't Worry Wednesday? Yes, I have. I was probably one of its first subscribers. I'll have to admit. Yeah. You have a short topic if no one else does. Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Sawale. You're awesome. And if you have a topic for us, please go to don'tworrywednesday.com and submit one. Just like Sawale just put in the chat, just go ahead and click on that, and we would love to take it, and we will cover it whenever we can. And it'll probably be whenever you're here, because you can check a box that says, I want to be here when you do it, or I don't care to be, which is nice and convenient. So if you don't want to be here, or if you want to be anonymous or whatever, you have the option. And that's why we use this don'tworrywednesday.com, because then you can be fully anonymous. So if you're worried about your question being a little bit too personal, don't. Go ahead and put it on don'tworrywednesday.com. Everyone here loves you, and we would love to cover any topics that you have. Now, Meoncleos, I would love to see this topic of yours. If you could share it, great. We'd be rolling. Okay, here we are. If you were to have actually, I'm gonna stop the current topic right now. Stop. Sorry. Hold on. I just don't think it's appropriate. Cool. All right. If you were to have a mission statement for BSS and Don't Worry Wednesday, what would it be? Or do you already have one? In which case, what is it? We've had mission statements before, and goodness, I don't remember them. We've had a couple. I don't remember them. I think that. So we created Black Static and Swerve because we wanted to, let's say, have an impact on the culture around the world, right? Every culture, if you will, but just cultures, right? Because we notice, of course, there's problems, and there's problems everywhere, and there's a lot of entertainment, especially entertainment. That is not so good for the soul, or for the mind, or for the heart, or for anything, it seems, except for it seems to be good for dancing, and encouraging you to do bad behaviors. And so we decided that it'd be a good idea to apply ourselves where we could to make a difference in the world. So I think lately, my personal mission statement for the company is something along the lines of to teach and encourage love in all of humanity. Because I feel that if we can do a better job at that, if we can do a little bit better job at teaching a little bit of love, helping people love, and learning what that is and doing a better job at it. If people can if I can help people become attracted to love, and I don't mean I mean like true love, of course, like love of friend, right? Love that is good and wants the good of the other, right? If I can teach people to be attracted to that, then I think a lot of problems are solved. A lot of the problems are solved. Now, not all of them, but a lot of them. And that's kind of where I'm currently at with a mission statement. It's not the best or most filled out. And we've had other ones before, and I just can't remember them because they were years and years and years ago. Black Second Swerve has been around for a while, and yeah. So, made a lot of changes, and we don't know where we're going because we allow things to go where they are going, and sometimes that just you end up in a place and you're like, oh, I didn't expect to be here, and so here we are. And then we say, well, is it applicable to our mission? It's like, well, what was our mission again? But I happen to be it's kind of funny because you asked, and I happen to be the quote visionary for the company. So basically it's my position to create that mission statement, to develop the mission and keep everyone on track of it to some degree, right? It's a shared role though for all of us. We all participate in that. And I'm not necessarily the only one that helps to do that. But I would say that mainly what I do is probably keep people's intentions and morals on track with the greater good, I would say, so that we don't venture off into the weeds in things that we have no place being, especially if it's only for monetary gain, right? There are certain things we could do that we just like, okay, yeah, we could make a lot of money in that, but it's like, yeah, but is that actually good for society? And a lot of times it could be like, well, we can't guarantee that it is, and it's looking like no, and it's like, okay, then it's probably not worth our time, because what's worth our time is those things which help change the culture for the better. And so that's where we direct our attention, regardless of whatever opportunities might come our way. There's always lots of opportunity, right? So yeah, I don't know, that's my answer for you. I recognize Joe would be able to give a pretty good answer too. He'd probably be like, oh, we have a mission statement written up, because he's written them up before and on our website, and go find it or something, but I don't know where they're at. Haley, what do you think?
You know, I feel honored that you would ask me my thoughts, because I'm like, I feel like I'm not in a position to necessarily speak, but at least not for the Black Static and Swerve company. I guess I could speak somewhat on Don't Worry Wednesday, since I'm at least part of that. But I like what you said. I think honestly, we're just trying to help brighten the world. I liked what you said about like love. I've always liked to hold the view of love first. I like, there's always difficult topics and controversial topics in the world.
Yeah, of course.
But I've always been of the opinion that we should love people first. Like, but true. It's important to put your personal feelings aside and just love people. And I think that if we can help lighten the burdens people are facing and help be able to share some of that love, and show people that there's good out there and that there's hope, and help broaden the understandings people have and maybe give them a little bit of a new perspective, I think that I feel like that's a good mission statement. We maybe for Don't Worry Wednesday, just to kind of broaden how people view life and help show them that they can be loved and that they can love others, and just kind of brighten the world a little bit. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I agree with that. Yeah, we don't have a mission statement for Don't Worry Wednesday exclusively either. We might have at some point, but yeah, I mean, I think what you said about covers it. It's important that, for Don't Worry Wednesday, we didn't start the show. Black Static and Swerve. It got started for us and then passed on to us from
from one of my friends. Some of you might actually remember that. It was a really long time ago. It's by a guy named the Beta Cat. And yeah, he invited me on to Don't Worry Wednesday one time, and I did it with him, and we did it for about a year or so. And then he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna leave in the reins to you, man. I'm heading out. I'm not gonna be doing much YouTube anymore, and I'd like you to take on this show and keep it up." And I was like, "That's awesome. I'm honored. Um, I think that I, I mean, all I could do is just appreciate it, and then uh, take on his request." And so here we are. I mean, it's been so many years now that we've been doing this, and it's always been, I think, a useful tool in people's lives. And I think that I I pray that it does good. I mean, it seems to me that it does a lot of good. You guys respond every once in a while in chat, or send us direct messages about the differences it's made in your lives. And I know it makes a difference in my life, and I'm one of the hosts. So I I would never regret doing the show ever in my life, and I desire to continue to do it for the rest of my life if I can. It's such a great thing to just be able to touch base, talk about life and perspective, talk about topics that are sometimes hard, sometimes fun, and just be hopefully a light on the world, as Haley said. Haley, do you find that Don't Worry Wednesday has made an impact in your life through the years?
I definitely think it's made an impact in my life. I mean, again, I used to watch it a lot. I mean, I still watch it. I like more in the chat more than I used to interact a lot. And I would come here with my concerns too. And I felt that it made a huge impact both when I had topics that I came with, but also even just when I was in the chat, being able to interact with other people's topics. I felt that always made a big difference in my life. And then now, even being on the show, I feel like it impacts me and it helps challenge me to see things from different perspectives and think through things. And so, I feel like even I'm being blessed by the chat and the people coming to us with their concerns.
Yeah, that's so true. That's why I was like, even as a host, I find so much. It's not just joy, right? But there's a lot of joy in being able to, I don't know, be able to have this semi-intimate connection with people where we can talk about hard things. It's a joyful thing to me. Even though the topics aren't necessarily joyful, but just to be able to commune with people is a lovely and wonderful thing, and to be able to share the different things that happen in my life and make use of that is beautiful and amazing. And to learn a lot, especially too, and that's what I was trying to get at. Even despite just being like, okay, I'm on the show, I get a lot out of reading these topics and pondering them. I get a lot out of going through them and just thinking, yeah, geez, do I relate in that in my life? And sometimes it's like, yeah, and sometimes it's no. And just thinking and living out that experience through you guys and trying to come up with a useful perspective on it all. And it becomes something that's enlightening to me. Maybe I think at times even more so enlightening and life-changing than it is for the person who posted the topic, just because I have an experience to sort of dive into an experience that wasn't my own for a time, and just and learn from them. And it's like, learn from them. They're the ones suffering the problem, and it's like, yeah, but I learn from them anyways. Especially if they do conquer their problem, I can ask them. It's like, how did you do that? And they'll tell us, and I'd be like, yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that. Wow. Yeah, I didn't think of that one. And so it's great. And sometimes people put in the chat some really good stuff. That's like, yeah, that's really, I should change my thinking a little bit to adapt more of what they just said, because that's true. That happens. So yeah, it's a blessing. It's so cool to be here.
I agree. And I've always loved learning, and I've always loved understanding. Like, if anything, I feel like I get irritated with myself when I can't understand something. And I feel like when talking with other people, it's a great way to both learn and understand. And so I just love listening to people's stories and learning to understand people.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, no, I really feel like this show is a blessing. And
Yeah.
I hope that it can be a blessing to other people as it has been to me.
That's wonderful. I'm so happy that it has been a good thing in the world, because we put time into it, every week, and you never know what's going to come of what you do. You can just have good intentions and live that out and give your best, but you don't know how the lives. You will never know, ever, how much you affect the lives of others, how much good you do in their life, and then how much they carry that forward to do good in others' lives that people you've never met, right? And so it's really great and reassuring to hear that, Haley, and I'm happy that that's the case, and it's a big deal, because I don't know, we love you guys,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Marhandi, that's a hilarious question. We can take that topic if we have time. We can take that topic. Marhandi says, if there's still more time, here's my favorite question to ask. What's your favorite question to ask or be asked? That's your favorite question to ask is, what's your favorite question to ask? Which is that is brilliant, Marhandi. That is brilliant. Goodness. What about you, Haley? Do you have a favorite question to be asked?
I'm gonna have to think about that one a little bit.
Yeah, my brain takes many different twists and spins on this, because I'm like, I like being asked questions. Of what nature?
Mm-hmm.
All sorts. What kind of question, though? And it's like, well, an intimate question that requires some deep diving, like digging and pondering. I love those questions, because I sit there for an hour or 2 hours just pacing in my room about it. That's the best. But what are those questions? There's a lot of those. And then other questions are like, oh, you just asked a question that, I know, yeah, well, I'm passionate about that, so we're going to be talking for a while now. It's like, you've got those questions that are just like, oh, yeah, well, let's go. This is exciting, It's like, if I asked a certain biological question to Haley, she might be able to talk my head off, and that would be amazing. And she's like, oh, I'm so happy that I got asked that question, because you can do it, and it's some degree of passion of yours, and that's fun. It's fun. I mean,
yeah, you may regret slightly asking the question after I've talked your ear off. You'd be like, why did I ask?
Yeah.
But
yeah. So to be asked, that one's really hard. To ask, that's even more hard for me, I think. I think it's the same kind of hardness, because of all of the same reasons I just gave on the difficulty of what question's my favorite to be asked. The same reasons it's so hard. It's to figure out what's my favorite question to ask. That's hard.
I think it's also hard because there's so many different contexts, and I feel like the questions that I would ask or want to be asked can vary a lot based on context. Sometimes it can be interesting to be asked religious questions and have the opportunity to have a religious conversation, or sometimes it's fun to be able to be asked questions about my research, and that can be fun too. I think I'm not sure if I would say it's my favorite or not, but I think one of the questions I probably ask people the most is it's something as simple as just how are you doing, or how are things going in your life.
Yeah.
I think that's always a good question. Pretty classic. But
that's a classic. It's a good one.
Really kind of fun. One of my classmates, actually, he'll like to ask how I'm doing, but he doesn't always. He likes to try and diversify how he'll ask it. So it's not always just a how are you doing. He'll ask it in some kind of creative way. I'm trying to think of an example of how he'll ask it, but he'll find some creative way that might sound kind of strange, but is still ask the overall message is how you're doing, but it'll sometimes make you have to think more. I don't know if this is one he's used, but for example, he could be what color would you use to describe today, or something.
Oh, okay, yeah. I would ask questions like, how doth thine kingdom reign upon this eve? and then they'll be like, "Excuse me? Oh, yeah. What? Yeah, good. Good." or
You know what?
they'll
That's the only
embrace it
way I'm
and
going to ask you. That's the
mhm.
only way I'll ask you how you're doing now. I'll be like, "How doth thy kingdom reign upon this earth?"
Yeah. Oh man. Well, not so well and great at the same time. Um, and that's there's so many good questions, honestly. And I remember when I was younger, I might have had an answer for this, but now I guess I don't. Um, there were a lot of questions. I like asking questions that are personal and that get people talking about themselves and their experiences. That help people open up and stuff like that. But sometimes, sometimes that's too tiring, and sometimes it's nice to just ask simpler questions. Sometimes the best question to ask is the one that gets the problem solved. That's my favorite question to ask, the one that solves the problem. And sometimes it's the one that makes people laugh the most. So there's all sorts of different, yeah. He said, the reason I really like this question to ask or be asked is because in a lot of the conversations I have when getting to know someone, it's usually me asking the usual questions to get to know them. Wait.
I get that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times I feel like I'm one who leads conversations too, but I think conversations are definitely a two-way street. But sometimes one person will definitely take the lead. Something that can be fun when trying to get to know someone is instead of going with the usual questions, is to like try and think of unique questions. Like if you were talking to like
Yeah.
someone who you find out is like a science major, you could be like, "What's your favorite protein name and why?"
Yeah, just the sound of the name. That's a good one.
Yeah, like my lab mates and I, we were discussing funny protein names the other day, and apoptosis,
Yes.
that's like programmed cell death.
Yep.
Um,
I know
there's
someone
a
who has
bunch of
apoptosis. And in fact, it's funny because they have a Twitch channel and it's literally apoptosis. That's the name of their Twitch channel. And I was like, oh,
oh,
wow.
that's
And he
funny.
actually has it. Yeah.
Well, I hope we all have apoptosis going
Oh,
on in
sorry.
our
He has
bodies.
the disease which is associated with it, which leads to a lot of
Oh,
failure
okay,
in bodily
that's
functions and organs.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's really unfortunate. But there's a lot of different proteins associated with apoptosis that'll have like death in their name. Or there's a protein that inhibits apoptosis, and its name is Indy, and it stands for "I'm not dead yet." Um,
That's great.
or there's another one I learned of the other day. It's called this one I think is an apoptotic protein, but it's called Ditto, and it stands for like death inducer obliterator protein.
Death inducer obliterator protein. Brilliant.
Yeah,
That's
the
amazing.
Pikachurin is a protein, that is correct, Mohendi. There's also a Sonic Hedgehog protein. Um,
Really
yeah. Scientists can be, you know,
humorous.
sometimes they just think they're really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they are funny. Other times, I think scientists are really bad at naming things, and we need to have some kind of scientific convention to rename things.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
because what happens is someone will name something, and then it just stays that name forever. Um, so they'll find a protein. Um, and so then they'll call it like they'll give it a name, and then they'll find another protein related to it. So then they'll be like, okay, well, it's gonna have the same name, but be number two. And then like they'll find like five or six of those
Oh.
proteins, and then just number them in order of how they found them. And
Mm.
then they'll look at the pathway, and they won't. The way it happens in the pathway will not be the number order it was found in.
Yeah, 1 5 3
So
6
then
1
like
2. Yeah.
yeah, and then
Great.
sometimes you'll have like alpha, beta, gamma versions of the proteins, and those won't go in order either. And so then you're like, why?
Mm.
Can't we just like rename it to go in order? But
Yeah. Yep. Fair. Fair. I mean, we used to do things in a Latin. We used to name everything with Latin names, but for proteins, I think, or anything you find in common day, people want to name it, and so you end up with things that are not Latin and don't follow the naming scheme anymore.
mhm.
Yeah.
Or there's something funny. So there's different types of biochemical assays. So there's something called um a Southern blot, and it was like a DNA assay that some guy with the last name Southern developed,
Mm.
and then someone else developed a similar assay that was for RNA, and they decided they were going to be funny and call it a Northern blot.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one was developed for proteins, and so they called it a Western blot.
Great.
And then they decided they needed to complete the cycle and make an Eastern blot.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure. Brilliant. That sounds
So sometimes
sounds terribly horrible. Actually, that's a real bad naming system. Everyone comes up with their own names, and now you're just like, yeah, wow.
and sometimes people will find like the same thing and publish really close to one another, so they'll have like called it two different things, and now all of a sudden this thing has multiple names.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I bet.
It is a bad naming system. But
yeah, that sounds like it. Wow.
Yeah, so basically Marhandy, I think it can be fun to, if you're like trying to get to know people, think outside the box and ask weird questions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Marhandy, you know Cubbage. Cubbage was really good at asking weird questions. You could learn from some of what he might have asked. Just like try and find unusual questions to like kind of bring joy and like humor into the conversation, but also have to make them think. And I feel like that can also help open up new doors, and then they'll want to start asking fun questions too.
Yeah.
So
that's true. Questions that make people think are great, which is what you did just now, Marhandi. So well done. Well done. That was good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well played. Well, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for this topic. Thank you for all of the topics we've had today. You guys are so incredible and awesome to be around, and we appreciate you. Thank you, Haley, for filling in for Joe today, or just being here. You're awesome and amazing, and you had a lot of great things to say. So I really appreciate that you would join us.
Thank you. I'm always happy to join.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, we're always happy to have you. And one of these days here, we'll get you on with Joe and I again at the same time, so we can have a 3-person. Don't Worry Wednesday, whatever. We're gonna do that again. That'll be fun. Joe's just been gone every other week.
I'm always happy to join whenever. So
yeah, you kind of just solved the problem right before it happened. Because you're like, hey, this summer I'm gonna be available, and I'd like to do Don't Worry Wednesday, and Joe's like, okay. And we're like, cool, let's make that happen. Then Joe's like, oh, right. Every other week I'm going to be gone. So that kind of really worked out well. So we're happy that you're here. And that
you know what? That. I think that was God. God was like, let the timing work.
Yeah. Just keep it up. Yeah, absolutely. Agreed. Yeah, with that, thank you guys. You're all so awesome, and we love you all. And Don't Worry Wednesday. And as Saole so kindly put in the chat, go to that website, go to don'tworrywednesday.com and submit a topic if you have one. We'd really appreciate that. We are once again down to 0 topics. So, which is good. It means we're getting through them. We're doing a good job. But you guys are not doing a good job because you're not winning. We are. So if you could give us some topics, that would be greatly appreciated, and we'd love that. Good night, everybody, or have a great day, depending where you're at.
Night.
And we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.